Okay, so I'm gonna try and do this quite quickly and see if it goes okay for you. Okay, this is specialist buff school clay, so it will dry quite brown, I guess. This is a 12.5 kilo bag if it was full. Okay, so yeah, you get your clay. Okay, cut off what I think you might need. So I'm just gonna guesstimate here that it's about this. Okay, I'm using a clay wire. This is a clay wire to cut clay. Okay, I'm just gonna chop off this. I'm just gonna weigh it for you so you can see how much that weighs. I bought my home scales for you. That's 1.2 kilos that I've cut off there. Okay, so we'll try with that. All right, when you use your clay, remember to wrap it, seal it back up. Use the tag that came with it to really get all the air out of that. I'm just going to leave mine just then, not tied up. I'll do it after. Okay, so then, yeah, you roll onto calico or some kind of cotton-based fabric, really. You don't want to roll directly onto the desk because it will stick and make a terrible mess. Okay, so the kids need to know when they're using clay that they're going to get very dirty hands. You'll need aprons and stuff. So what I'm doing here is like molding it out with my hands, flattening it out a bit. Okay, so that I can roll it. Okay, then you have these guiding slats. Okay, so they're the same thickness and you put them on either side of where you're rolling. Use a rolling pin. And roll it out to the same thickness. Okay, and you have to move your slats around. And roll it out. So you can see there that there's not enough for an A4 size vase. So I'm going to have to cut some more off for that. Okay, that is another kilo that I've cut off there. Okay, so I'm going to do the same, but I'm going to try and fill this in. The kids will be better off doing this at first, but actually rolling out an A4 piece is actually quite big now that I think about it. Okay, so you might need a bit more clay than we first thought. Okay, so this takes quite a bit of arm power. I'm doing this quite quickly, makes you out of breath. Okay, so then you pop your A4 template on the clay, okay, like this, and use a clay knife. Okay, so it's not very sharp, but it's got a bit of a point. You cut out from your template. Okay, and get rid of everything around the outside. Okay, so there's your A4 slab of clay. Okay, so they probably want to put that somewhere for a minute. Then you're going to need to roll out the rest of your clay. So you have to mould it all back together, get out all the air pockets. Okay, use your guides again, your slats again, to roll it to the same thickness. It's a bit of an early morning workout doing this. Okay, then you could use cookie cutters to cut out some shapes, or whatever you fancy. You really have to get this flat. Okay, so I haven't got any cookie cutters, so I'm just going to cut out some shapes. Apologies that they're not very Grace and Perry, but okay, so you can cut out shapes. So you'd have shapes there, and they're going to go on your main piece. Yeah, so you can cut with a knife, or you could cut with cookie cutters, like I said, or cake cutters. Just buy loads of cake cutters. You could do things like you could even cut out letters, I guess, if you want, but you could have some patterns as well. I cut out a P. You could cut out letters. Like that. Okay. So you're going to need the rest of this clay for cutting out your base as well. So because we're using a spray can to roll round, you probably need a base slightly bigger than the spray can. So you can either make some templates for this, or you could get the kids to just cut around the spray paint can. And remember to keep the lids on. Okay, so hopefully that base will be big enough, so you've got to leave that to one side. Then the rest of the clay is technically spare, so they perhaps don't, I'll just weigh that, what I haven't used. You could take it off, but obviously you're never going to do this exact, so you need, so I didn't use 600 grams, so basically I gave the kids 1.6 kilos in total. That's what it's used, but obviously you're going to need spare, so 2 kilos would be really good, because it's quite hard to get enough to make this first thing. Okay, so I've got my patterns here as well. So you also need to make some slip. So I've got a little bit of water in a pot, and I'm just going to put some blobs of clay in and make like a paste. I've got an old paintbrush. Might have to get my hands dirty here, and it takes quite a while to make. Perhaps should have made this before the video. Okay, you might want to make this for the kids, or you might want to teach them how to make slip. It's like a clay glue, or I think you call it slurry here, don't you? Slip, yeah, call it slurry. So yeah, this, you can see this takes quite a while to make. It's quite messy. So yeah, this is probably not quite thick enough, but you get the idea. It's like a sludgy paste there. I just have to go and get a wipe. Just get some of that off my hands. Okay, so you've got your piece in front of you. You've got the things you want to stick on, and what you want to do on the back of them is score them. So use the knife or a sharp-ish object. You don't need like a craft knife or anything. You need sort of something blunt and pointy. So put loads of, and then work out where you're sort of going to put it and score into it. Okay, and then you apply this sort of sludgy glue. Can you see that? Apply the glue. Apply the glue. Okay, and then you press it on, and you'll probably want to smooth down and join all the shapes on. Okay. To your design. Okay, smooth them into the design. Let's put this P on. Again, make sure your letters are the right way, obviously. Score, 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 score. Okay, put your slip on. Okay, stick it on. Use your fingers to either blend that in. Okay, so this bit is okay, so you get the idea. You put those things on. Okay, then you can obviously use stamps and things if you've got any to hand to make other patterns, might be part of their design. These are cake decorating things that we've got here. I'm just going to put a few on. You don't want to go all the way through, but this will give like an indent. You can get textural ones. Now this is a piece of kids building blocks, I think. And some work better than the others.
Hi. Hiya. Multiple things. Tutorial's not running.
So we have different things going on here. Spots and, you know, different textures. So they can do that for mark making. You can also use your tools again to make little marks if you want. You probably, I've focused on the middle here, but you actually want to go all the way around this thing. Okay, so you could use, yeah, whatever you can find really. I mean, it doesn't have to be textured, especially if you're going to paint it all. What else could you use? The bottom of a paintbrush. Could do some dotties, dotty. Okay, so then that will probably take you at least one lesson to do that, because that rolling out is tough. Okay, and getting everyone sorted with that, in my opinion. So then when you're ready to roll it, so you have to then put these away and keep them wet and damp. Okay, when you're ready to roll, I'd turn it over. Got your spray can bottle, got your cling wrap, just wrap that up there, ideally with a lid. I couldn't find a lid, sorry. Okay, and we're just going to roll it, okay, around the spray can. Now you see here that an A4 piece is actually a bit bigger, so I'm just going to move it into the middle. I'm going to have a bit of an overlap, so I hope you can see, but I'm going to cut off some of this edge now. So I've cut off probably about an inch, a couple of centimeters. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of that, and I'm going to roll it, and then I'm going to mark. Is that clear? So this was on a bit of on the video. So I'm going to mark and cut off, so you've got about a centimetre overlap. Again, that would be waste, so maybe it's better actually not to do the designs on both edges. Okay, and then I've cut mine a bit narrow actually to get it joined. So what you would do is score both edges. Okay. So score both edges, put the slip on. Make sure you got loads of slip. Like I said, I've cut mine a little bit short. It needs to be a bit more of an overlap really, but I'm just going to squeeze it together and make the join. Okay. So you've got to disguise your join all the way down. Okay. And then I'm not quite sure how we'd get this can out actually. Maybe when it dries that I can come back and show you how we'd get it out. Or it may be that we have to get it out before we join it together. I don't know, I'll come back to you on that one. Okay. And then we've got to get our bottom, okay, and do the same thing. So you've got to, let's see if it moves. It's not going to come out at the minute. Maybe you have to make it a bit looser. Oh, actually, if I push it up from the bottom, it'll come out. Okay. So you can see I've split it there by trying to get that out. So this is the tricky bit. You might have to seek some advice about how to do that. Okay, because it's sort of lost its integrity a bit now as well. Okay, so then you would score around here. Okay, and then you'd score the bottom of this. Probably work better maybe the next lesson when it's slightly harder to do this. You really want to join everything inside as well, make sure it's really stuck together. Okay, apply your slip. Okay, and then pop that on the base, and then you do the same. So you want to smooch it all in, smooth it all in, make sure it's really stuck together. Okay, go for make sure that's really stuck together. All the joins are sealed, because any joins will just crack if you don't have it all smooth. So they'll just crack in the kiln or when they're drying, so you really need to make those joins really, really good. Okay, so really needs to be proper overlap. I'm sorry I didn't do that. Okay, so then there's your vase. Probably need to smooth out some areas. You can wet your fingers, you can wet a sponge, smooth out the top, so you don't want any jagged edges. Okay, and then you would, if it's complete and you're happy with that, then you would just leave it out to dry. Okay, usually on some drying racks you wouldn't cover it at this point, because the idea is that you want it to dry. And you want it to dry not overnight, you want to dry it quite slowly, so you don't want it in a heated room, but you just want it to dry out naturally really. Okay, and like I said, absolutely no cracks, because they will break the vase. they will just burst in the kiln, or you'll get just big cracks and then it won't be watertight. Okay, I suppose if you do have any cracks, you could just squidge out a bit, score and slip. Yeah, so you could apply this to anywhere that's a bit thin and try and seal in any cracks. But I think the students might need some assistance ensuring that maybe your technician can go around helping everyone's done their seams correctly. You can stick your hand in as far as you can go and smooth the seams on the inside. Okay, so then there's your vase. Okay, and then it needs to dry out. You should be able to lift this up from the base, yeah, and you should be able to dry those out somewhere. Okay, and then there's your vase and ready to dry out, fire, and then glaze, then paint and then glaze. Okay, so there you go. I'll just weigh this, so the total weight. So the total weight is 1200, so 1.2 kilos. Okay. There we go.